Hi everyone. I am going to introduce some information about doing kindergarten intervention for reading and to do it for online. Um, because of the fact that when we're online, our biggest challenges is how to get the kids to interact and to be able to have them do things. Um, I've made up some ideas for that to help everybody. First of all, the first thing I'm going to show you is that normally when we introduce the very first things in kindergarten are the letters and sounds, and we use a lot of manipulatives. Well, it's very hard on intervention because kids don't have those at home, and you can kind of pull that in a little bit, but I still find that it's useful to have our own little manipulatives to show them to introduce the letters and sounds. And I find that having some sort of a fancy bag or a fancy box or a basket or something to pull these items out of as you're introducing each sound, that's kind of fun for them to make it a little more, exciting. And then I just pull stuff. There's a lot of things in the computer lab of manipulatives. Stuffed animals. There's like all kinds of little, farm animals and little toys and all kinds of things. I've just pulled together a few things here that just to show you kind of what I would do. But like, for example, for introducing the sound for C, for k, here's a cup, bowl, b for bowl, plate. You could do L for leaf, ol. I would use this to do the sound that the letter makes, then talk about, which letter that is, the sound the letter makes, and then also the first sound in the word. So I would introduce it by saying, this is a cup. What's the very first thing you hear in the word cup? And that to teach them that first sound. Then you can go on to the middle sound, or go on to the last sound and then the middle sound and segment the whole word. But first start off with just the sound. Here's a salt shaker for S, jar, J. Got a can here for K again. Flashlight and fork. So just all kinds of little fun things that you can just pull out of your little bag. And here's a box B with the stuffing in it. Matchbox cars, trucks, trucks, any kind of little toys like that, and just, make it real fun for them. So that's using manipulatives to teach letters, sounds, and the segmenting. Now, obviously you can always use flashcards online still. So flashcards are going to always be a good thing to use. You can use your sounds, your letters, your words, whatever on flashcards. It's finding out kind of fun ways of doing that. That's the trick for them. When I'm introducing the letters and sounds, I always find, and I have a set of flashcards here that I use. Everybody has kind of their own way that they maybe like to introduce them, but I find that having an action to go with each sound really helps to introduce the sounds to kids, especially kids who are struggling with the visual part. Having that action to go with it so they can actually do something themselves as they're trying to think what the sound is. So I have made these so for example, let's see here. Now, I do focus, when the vowel starts to come up in the curriculum, vowels will be really important because every word has a vowel. So if they have all 5 of the vowels, they're going to obviously get a lot more of the words correctly. So like, for example, with, you using like an umbrella or up would be a good thing. Let's see here. I use like for teeth, I just got point to your teeth, and then they when you show that letter to them, I show them this first with the picture, and then I do the action and I make them do the action too. They have to do the action too, so that way they're doing something interactive even when they're on the computer and they have nothing else at home to hold or touch or anything. So they're doing something. Then eventually you want to just show them the letter without the picture. So you're scaffolding that way, and you're giving them this first and then giving them this. And then you might still kind of point a little bit, and then they'll get that sound then. Then eventually you don't do anything and they just know the sound. So like for I rub my tummy, like, something really tastes good. So that's a really useful thing for teaching letters and sounds online, for have them be doing something physical. I do then always, and I try to keep the same action so that they always are thinking of that action. This is for my vowels. This is what the CKLA, I think, are the actions or the sounds that they use for the CKLA. But, that way I do the vowels. Once they've learned the vowels, once you've taught them, just keep doing them over and over again so that, when you're doing A, you're doing for A. I, like all I have to do is just kind of start going like that, and I think of itch. So that's a good thing for that. So that's the letters and sounds introduction there. Okay, now for teaching letters and sounds to kindergarten online, and I tend to use the doc cam a lot. I love having a doc cam. If there's any way you can get one, it's a really useful tool teaching online. Let me know. I can help you possibly, but I use it a lot. So as you can see, I've tried to also show you what it looks like on the computer here. So they can see stuff really well on there that way. And yeah, sometimes I just hold it up in front of them on the camera, and that works really well too, but this is a nice way to do it. So on this little game here, this little exercise is, well, let's say you even started out with, you would start out with just this first couple sounds that you're teaching. And I don't have those necessarily here with me, but it just gives you an example of, you just might do it with two sounds and say, okay, after you've taught them the sound by using all the different manipulatives and talking to them about what the sound is and all that, then you might do something where I would do two of them on here, and I would say, okay, we're going to find the sound, the letter that makes the sound p for pig, p, p. Or don't say, if you've got the picture on there, pig, but at first you could say it and then back off and not use the pig as a scaffold. Okay? So then I might go like this. Okay, you tell me when to stop when I'm on the letter that has the sound with the p. So I would be going back and forth like this, and when they say stop, then okay, they got it. Then maybe you might do that at first, especially kids who are having trouble between two sounds. And there's probably other variations you can do on this. This is just a few that I thought of. Then you can do some more letters on there that you've already taught explicitly. And this is just a game for review to make sure, because this is the type of thing in intervention you're going to be doing over and over and over and over and over. And this makes it fun for them, fun for us. All right, so now I might say, okay, when I stop, we're going to go round and round and round she goes. And when I stop on the letter that says aw for octopus, tell me, and I would call in a particular student, tell me when to stop. Or you can maybe even have the group say it. Excuse me. All right, so then I go really slow, and I kind of maybe move around a little bit, and then give them a chance, and then when hopefully they're going to say stop right there on ah for octopus. So hopefully you can see that on there. If you can't, I'm going to hold it up and show you how it looks here. Okay, so that I can just keep tapping until they say stop. All right, now I would also then go to, and we always usually start off when we're teaching sounds with the lowercase, and then add the uppercase in. They pretty much, I think they do the lowercase at first for quite a while, but you know, whatever you feel is appropriate to start adding the uppercase in to teach them both upper and lower. So then you can do something like this, another little with both of them on there, both the uppercase and lowercase, and do this with them, and do the same thing. When I stop on the letter that says S, and you could have them say a funny word like hamburger or something like that. Everybody shout hamburger or something, or taco or pizza or whatever. And then just slowly go around, keep mixing it up, and then hamburger. Okay, so you kind of get the idea. This can be done in a whole bunch of different ways, but it gets them more interactive rather than you just flashing stuff in front of them. Okay, let's see here. Now, I'll stop it here for a minute. Okay, another good tool that I've found for online for kindergarten is especially for teaching to hear the sounds and words, the phonemes, and also to recognize like first sound and what the letter sounds are for each letter. Is a couple of videos that are called There's one called Animals for Kids to Learn. There's one called Fruits for Kids to Learn, Veggies for Kids to Learn. There's several of them. But anyway, this one's Animals. And the way I do it is it introduces each animal. It has the name of the animal on there. And then it also tells the sound the animal makes. So that way you can also bring that into it too. We can say, you know, the animals make a sound. Sometimes when I'm introducing letter sounds, I'll say, the animals make a sound, so do the letters. So letters also make a sound. And you can then, each section, take each animal, pause it at that animal, talk about, well, this animal, what's the sound, and bring that into it for fun. Barking, you know, how the kids bark or whatever it is. And then, you know, say, okay, now, like for example, this one is dog. And I would then say, you know, okay, let's see if we can hear the very first thing you hear when you say the word dog, dog. It's d. So the first sound in the word dog is d. It also has the word of the animal, the name of the animal written on there, so you can also show them that the first letter, point to that first letter. D says d. So this one has a lot of different things you can bring out of skills. I'll kind of give you an example. So there's gives the sound the animal makes.
Dog. Horse.
Okay, then I'd probably pause it there. Everybody say the word horse, and then let's think, what's that first sound? Horse. And then maybe possibly after you get them to know that, you could then bring in the picture of the letter, the H at the beginning of that word says, so that they can start connecting the letter picture with the sound that the letter makes. Then it goes on to the next animal. Goes pretty quick, but then you can pause it on each animal.
Cat. Cat. Bear. Bear.
All right, then here's the fruit one. And I just do this right on the screen share. It basically goes through the alphabet. So you start out with apple.
Apple.
Again, it has the word up there if you want to point to the first letter and say that's A for apple. But, you know, start with the sound first. What is the first sound you hear in apple? Ah.
Banana.
Then pause it. Talk about bananas. Talk about whether they like them or not. Then have them say banana. Let's think, what's that first sound you hear? Banana. then maybe they can come up with other things that have that first sound B. You know, that maybe other foods or other, you know, items, you know, that have the first sound B, and you can help them do that. So it can be extended from there. All right. Okay, so also for doing the first sounds or all the sounds in the words, I also use pictures, the picture cards. There are a lot of picture cards in the lab, and you can use, there, like I did with the video, you can use that. You can find them online. There's, you know, I think there's a lot of picture cards in the ARG for the CKLA curriculum. So there's a lot of different sources for those. So just, the way I do it is, I a lot of times will just show them through the, on the screen here. I'll just show them on the camera, hold them up, and then we start off with whatever the sound we're working on at the time. Let's say it's P. We'll hold up pictures that start with P, and then also I will use the doc cam again. That way they can see very clearly what the picture is, and you know, I can lay them on there. What's the first sound we hear in the word pear? P, p. What's the first sound you hear in the word peach? P, p, peach. Okay. And then after they learn these, pretty much I'm kind of warming up them with these cards, you know, each day. Then you can begin to do after you've got them to learn the first sound, then you can start with the last sound. And I would do the similar type of thing, and we would say, okay, let's look at the word peach. And then I would really stretch it out, peach, and I'd really emphasize the last sound. I also kind of will tend to go like this and go peach, and I point the last sound. Also, there's different things you can use visually, like you could, we have a little dog that we use or whatever, where you put the nose as the first sound, the last sound is the tail. So something like that. But then when you go on to doing some blends at the beginning of the word or at the end of the words, then there's also picture cards that might have a blend. So it might have like swing, swing, stove, stove, stuff like that. So those are the picture cards to introduce sounds and then eventually start the segmenting. So this is all for phonemic awareness. Then begin to start after you do the first sound, then the last sound, and then work on the middle sound. So then eventually you'll be doing, all right, what are all the sounds in the word pot? Pot, like that. I also then will have, after you're doing this with the pictures, then you can go to not using pictures and just start, you know, at the beginning of each group, you know, do maybe 10 or 12 words where they each have to segment all the sounds in the word when you just say the word. Also focus a lot on just the 2 sound words like toe and bow and T and B, and where they have to B-E. It's just 2 sounds. So they get the idea there's just 2 sounds. There can be just 2 sounds in the word. So you'd have a list of those words and do that with them. And just basically go around and each one of them say those. Okay. Okay, now we're going to go on to, once the students recognize, you know, a few of the letters and what the sounds they make are, I tend to start using a lot. Well, first of all, let me show you this. This is what I use daily for my reading target for that day. Kindergarten, you know, would be a very basic one. But what I do then is I tend to use make these, and then I tend to put them in sheet protectors. So put it in sheet protectors, and that way you can use these whiteboard markers on them over and over again and erase them each day and change them out so that you don't have to be using the paper making new ones. So then I use I've made up a few different types of grids, and I use these to change out for each day's lesson. And I would put them again in a sheet protector so that you wouldn't have to be changing the sheet paper out. You could just erase them off from the whiteboard marker and just use a whiteboard eraser. Okay, so I use this grid quite a bit. I just made it, and then I fill them in with whatever we're using. Like for example, on here, I have a sound review. So let's say we've done the letters M, A, S, T, and we're going to just review them. So I would, again, put this on the dot cam over here, okay? And then and if you'll notice when I make my reviews, I always put, if it's a review for a letter sound, a letter name, a tricky word, whatever it is, you're going to put multiple times of whatever the main one you've just learned. So like here I've got, so they would do, over and over again through that sound review, they have the same sound so that they really get that. Okay, and then I would put it on the dot cam, and it shows up really nicely on the dot cam. And then I start with the first sound here, and I basically tell them, okay, we're doing sound, so I'll say sound, and then they tell me the sound. If they make a mistake on one, then like let's say for example you're doing the review and you say sound, and then they say sound, then you say sound, they say you say sound, they say t. Then they come to here and they say let's say. Then I back up to and go back up here. First I tell them that was not or that was not and then I back up to and I say, okay, your turn. Sound, sound, t, sound, they get it every time. It's just a miracle. That backing up to and then doing it, they get it. So just going back and forth doesn't work. Back it up to and then do it again. Okay, and then work through the sound review that way. You can also do the same thing with, like I said, if you're doing their tricky words, sight words, whatever you're calling them, but tricky words right now with the CKLA, do the same thing. You would put the tricky words in like this. Okay, now this grid is done with 4 in a row. If you're working with the kinders, you may only want to do a grid with 3 in a row like this. But, and you can then fill it in with tricky words the same way. I've used the word said. I think we were learning said and who and says here. This was for first grade. And so I've put those in multiple times. So that way they can really, by the end, they've said it multiple times. And you do the same thing, only instead of saying sound, you would do word, said, word, who, word, says. And again, if they miss this word, tell them what it is, back it up to, and go through it again. And I'll do that all on the dot cam using a pointer or pencil or whatever funny thing you want to use to point with, and do a review that way. Reviewing is good. So that's okay. That's a standard way to review, but a little bit boring then. So you can do a game. So I would take the same grid and maybe do a Tic Tac Toe game with it. So here's one that I've used, and actually for the Tic Tac Toe like this, and I did this the other day because I think there's an online Tic Tac Toe one too that has, I think, tricky words, and that one they love. and they love playing Tic Tac Toe. It's like so great to see them loving to play Tic Tac Toe online when they're so used to these fancy video games, but they have fun playing Tic Tac Toe, just pairing up. The other kids watch while the one pair goes, and then the next pair goes, the next pair goes. And then I will make up little, now the way they have to play this Tic Tac Toe is they have to say the sound before they get that box. Or if you're playing word, or if you're playing phrase, there's a phrase one here too. You can put fluency phrases in there. This would of course be for higher grade, but you can put words, whatever you like, tricky words, sight words, whatever, and they have to say the sound before they get that box. So, and if they don't get that, like they'll say, I want that one, this is mine, you're up there, I want that one, and they're kind of trying to tell you which one it is. I will tell them then what it is, but then they don't get it until the next time when they come to that one, they have to say it correctly. And then you would use like some little, like I got these out of a bingo game or whatever, and I'm using two different colors, red and yellow. Let's see where are the yellow ones. All right, let me see here. The yellow ones. Where are they? Anyway, we use red, and I just had them right here. Okay, so basically you would put then a red one person would be red, and the other, instead of X and O's, you could use these and have one person be red, one person be yellow, one person and use like red and yellow. I'm using red and white here to cover like that so that they can get 3 in a row. They have to get 3 in a row. So then you could also do X's and O's, and I do them like, again, I put them in the sheet protector, and I do X's, O's, like that, and they have to play the game that way. So they call out the sound, the word, whatever you have on there, and if they say whichever one it is, then I cross that out as an X, and then the other person is an O. All right. Now, another game you can play with that is, I do this quite a bit with my first graders. They love it. It's called Clear the Board. And you can do, again, you can do it with words. You can do it with sounds. You can do it with blends. We're just starting to work on blends right now. So you can do it with blends like that. And basically, we have to clear the board. So what we do with this one is, I lay it on the dot cam. Now let's see if I can put this up so you can maybe see the screen on the computer. I point to the sound and I call on Susan, or I call on Lisa, or whoever it is, and they have to tell me the sound. So if you're doing it for kinder, let's say you're doing one like this for kinder, then I would point to it, and I've used X's on here. You can X them out and clear the board, make sure they've done all of them. Or they love to use these little gems. And there's some gems I got at Michael's, and I've shown them all the different colors so they can choose the color they want to put on there if they want, or you just put the color down, whatever you decide for that day. And when they say the word correctly, they get a gem placed on there. So you'd say, okay, Tina, what's the sound? P. Okay, then you put a gem on there. If they don't say the sound right, then they don't get the gem on there. And then eventually you would totally, let's clear this off of here, you would get the board all covered with gems, and that's called clear all. Clear the board, or cover all, or whatever you want to call it, until the whole board is covered. Let's see, I'll show you that on the dot cam. So that way you can see it, how I'm doing it on the dot cam there. Okay? So that's another game you can play with them. And they love these gems. You could use, I think you could use like little erasers. You could use any little small trinkets or whatever to cover the board. Okay. All right, let's see if there's any others that I can see here that I worked up. Okay, this one here is, let's see, where's my, oh, here it is, finish line. Okay, so this is finish line. And this one you can do once they start reading words. You can do this one, and you put their name next to the line, and then they each take turns, and basically each time they read a word correctly, they get maybe a gem on there, or a heart, or whatever you want to draw on there. And then again, it's in a sleeve, so you can write right on top of it. And then they want to get to the finish line, so you can work it up that way. Okay. So once we have enough letters and sounds and they recognize the letters and they're starting to blend the letters together, and you want them to be able to continuous blend into words. A game I thought of that is a fun game for them is I call it blending drive-through. I saw it online, and then I kind of was modifying it for doing it online because they were doing it in the classroom. But anyway, to use little matchbox cars again. So, and what I thought would be fun for them is to be able to each time, we could choose which car we're going to use each time. So you could give them a choice, or like, do you want to use a truck or a Jeep or whatever? We've got like a spider car here and a scorpion car or whatever. You can say, okay, which car are we going to use today? So anything where they can get a choice helps them. And again, I'm doing this on the dock cam. Shows up great on the camera to them. And you would start with whatever sound you're working with and whatever vowel sound you're focusing on. And then, do the blending drive-through. So you're doing mop, like that. And they see it on the screen, mop. Then, of course, maybe change the last sound. And then maybe change it to, try moss. All right, then moss, like that, okay? Then maybe change the middle sound. You could do whatever your focus is. Miss, so that they get that they don't want to just. You want to use the terms of you're driving through those sounds and you don't stop in between each sound. You just keep your engine running and you keep right on going. Miss. That's the way we read words. We don't go is. So that's a fun game there. Okay. Let's see. Okay, for continuous blending, I also use these hands. I've made these, and there's a set at school, and this is a set I have at home, and these kids love. I have the hand, so if you want to make your own, so you can get your own words in there, whatever, but I use both sides of the hands. I get these off of Amazon, and then I laminated them or whatever. I think it's good to laminate them because I've written on these so many times, and with a dry erase marker, and it erases right off. So the way I use this is, again, use the dot cam. If you don't have a dot cam, you could always use it in the camera like this. But what I do is, when I'm doing continuous blending, it's best to start with the continuous sounds because it's easier for them to do like mop versus a stop sound like b or k or d. It's a little harder for them to learn to blend with those stop sounds. So I start with the continuous sounds, mop, sat, like that. So I would start with one that has a you can tell it's a continuous sound. It doesn't have a stop on it. And see, I've written on these so many times, but okay. And this is again after you've already gone over the vowels, so they know what the vowels are. And we do these vowels every day. We sing a little song, A-E-I-O-U. Those are the vowels for me and you, whatever your little deal is with vowels. And then I have them choose the vowel that we're going to start with. So I would say, okay, Sandy, which vowel would you like? They can choose whichever one. Okay, Sandy's going to choose I. So I would put the I in there like that. And then now Sandy can read the word. Mitt, like that. Okay, and then I cross out the I. All right, Carlos, what vowel would you like to choose? All right, you want to choose O, then O goes in here. Let me do a little bit darker here. So O goes in. All right, what's the word? Mott. And then we cross out the O so that we get through all the vowels for that hand. Now, if it's a word like that, where it's a make-believe word, I'll sometimes say, now, is that a real word or a make-believe word? And we talk about what real words are and make-believe words. And they figure, oh, that's a make-believe word. Okay, and then you would do a real word, maybe, and there's Matt. Okay, then the other side, same thing. Start with the vowel, choosing the vowel, and go from there. Is it a continuous sound? So it's an easy one for them to blend. Fan, like that, and then cross out the A. They can choose which vowel. That way they're constantly thinking, what is the vowel and what sound is it? So that they know those vowel sounds, because those are really important for them to know. If they know those, they're going to get a lot more CVC, consonant, vowel, consonant words correct. All right. Then, so when I pull these out, they love them. They're always happy with the hands. Then, just to practice word reading, CVC word reading, or when you start getting into consonant, vowel, consonant, VC words, same thing. But like for example, this I would use where it's got lines of them, and I might start like with a one that only has 3 lines, so it doesn't freak them out too much. But and then have them each read a line, and as they're reading them, I put a green dot under the line if they read it as a whole word without sounding out each sound. If they read kicks, and then I put a green dot there. Now, if they sound out each sound, I know that the new Dibbles testing, they can sound out each sound and then read the word, but really the goal is for them to read the word correctly. So if they read it correctly, I would put a green dot under it like that. And then we count the number of dots. You can also time them. You can just, make it more fun for them that way. Give a little bit more. Sometimes they just all of a sudden start reading faster once they know that they're being timed on it. And, having them mix. First, you can start out with all the same vowels so that they're real easy. Then you can start off and then do some mixture of vowels and do that. But again, these type of things where you can put them in the sleeve protectors and just change them out. You don't have to type them. You can write them, whatever. It just makes it, whatever makes it. I just do them with the markers too, making it easy. Okay, now for using chaining and, putting the letters and sounds together, first segmenting and then building the word to chain. I like to kind of combine those two. So what I do is I do what I call see it, say it, and spell it. And again, these are all things I've learned from all of my wonderful colleagues I've worked with over the years, and appreciate all of that information on when I started. So if this helps anybody and also helps anybody with online intervention, that's what it's there for. So this is called see it, say it, and spell it. And that's how I start doing my chaining. And I do it typically with them with me on the camera instead of on the doc cam. but you could do it either way. You could put them on the dot cam, or I just find that works better for me this way. So I would have my list of words, whatever sounds I'm working on, and then we'll start off with a basic one because obviously this will be kindergarten. And then I would do like, okay, we're going to say the word mat. Let's say the word mat, and I have them all say it together first. And and by the way, I have them have their whiteboard and marker, so they're actively doing this too, which is what the chaining is all about. And if they do not have, many of them don't have a whiteboard and marker, sometimes their markers are dried up, they can't find them, whatever, then paper and pencil. And usually they can come up with some sort of paper and pencil. And so then I would say, okay, everybody say the word mat. And then they say it because if they hear them saying the word, if they hear themselves saying the word, they have a better chance of getting those sounds than if you just say the word, especially on the computer. So let's say the word mat, make sure they're all saying it. Then we're going to sound it. At. Okay, now if they're not getting those sounds, then I ask them to stretch the word, and I ask them to put their stretchers up. And they all get their stretchers up. They love to do this. And then we stretch the word. Mat. Mat. Then we say, okay, now we're going to say the sounds. And I tell them to punch the sounds. So, at, like that. So they love punching those sounds out, and it really gives them a action to do. And then I say, write it. So don't write it until we're all done with those three. See it, or say it, sound it, and then we write it or spell it. Okay? So then I would have them write mat. And then I write it. And at first I'll hold it up so they can all kind of take a peek and see, make sure they're doing it right. After a while, you don't hold it up until they've done it themselves. But then they all show theirs. And I'll say, okay, I'm going to count down from 5. You guys get them up there, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, everybody show their boards. And that kind of gets them going a little bit faster. And then I check each one and say, oh, that's good, Elena, good, Eliana, whatever, they've got it right. If they don't, have them do it again or explain to them the correction, show them the correction. If they did it right, they can put a little check mark by it so that they know they did it right. Okay, then you go on to your next word, and it's going to be, let's say, sat, because you're chaining, so you're going to be changing the sounds. And then we do say the word sat, and then, okay, let's sound the word sat. Sat. And again, if they don't do it, you don't hear those sounds, stretch it out. Sat. They especially need to do that at the beginning because they're not doing, like, they aren't saying that they're maybe just going sat. No, it's sat, like that. All right, and then spell it. Okay, I usually have them do it in this corner here, this side, and just go right down so that it makes a row. Okay, and they can see the changes in each of the sounds there. Then maybe you're going to do 5 words. Maybe, as you get into the little bit further advanced, or you might have to do 6 or 7 words or whatever it is. And then maybe change the last sound. So we're going to do Sam. And then we're going to do, let's see here. What else can we do? We can have them change 2 sounds. Map. You could do whatever. And then, so let's say you're doing 5 words, 4 or 5 words, whatever. Okay, and each one they've checked because they've gotten them right. Then what I do is I tell them, grab your eraser, cap your markers, grab your eraser, and we're going to start at the bottom. And we're going to read those words back so that they have to read the word once they've written it. And then I'll call on one person. Okay, Eliana, please read the bottom word. And then she has to read the word sad. And then they erase it off of there. And then the next one reads map. And we eventually erase all of them off. And they've read all those words back. And you can do that with anything all the way up through when you start introducing, like if you're doing ch sound. You can do ch, app, chop, blah, 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 all the way down. And again, they have to read them back. So this just goes on and on through the whole thing, doing all the chaining. See it, or say it, sound it, and spell it. Okay, game for tricky words. We've done like gems, and we've done all kinds of, we did tic tac toe things. Another thing is building a tower. I think there's a lot of these manipulatives around for math and all. So you can always grab these things, and every time they read a word right, they get to add a thing onto the tower. So we do, let's say whatever words we're working on, you pull those cards out, and you would put them up on the doc cam, hold them up on the camera, call on somebody to read a word, and then if they read it correctly the first time, then they get to build a tower. You can either build it up this way, but they like to see it, sometimes they like to see it building up this way. And just keep adding it in there. So in other words, it's a group effort to build the tower as tall as they can get it. Okay? Whatever the tricky words are, you could do it with anything. You could do it with letters. You could do it with, uppercase, lowercase letters, whatever you're working on, and building a tower. Okay, for tricky words, when you're in kindergarten, when they start introducing tricky words, then after you've introduced them, and you've explicitly taught the word, and, we can talk about spelling it, they can write it. Another good tip I use is when they're online like that, they can write it on their paper at home or on their whiteboard, whatever they have. If they don't have anything, they can write it in the air. So we can practice writing it with their finger in the air, on their table, whatever, and working on the tricky words. But then once you've explicitly taught it and you're also working on the CVC words, then it's really a good idea to use the tricky words in a sentence, and so that they actually get used to reading in a sentence, using those same CVC words that you've been working on and whatever the letter sounds are you're working on. So I will make, again, I'll use these grids. So it's a little bit hard to see that. Looks like with a glare on it. Let me just check that. I'll put it on here, so maybe it's a little easier to see on the doc cam. And then just zoom in a little bit there. Okay. And then, make them very simple, like 2 or 3 word sentences, 4 word sentences. The cat sat. He ran and ran. Okay, now to make it a little more challenging for them, I might say, again, we're going to build a tower. You have to look at that sentence and you're going to read it. Now, the first time they may not read it correctly, but when they call on them and they read the whole sentence without stopping and with a nice fluency, then we would get to put a block on the tower. Or you could use a gem, and you could say, okay, Susie, when you finish, read that word sentence without stopping and you read all the words correctly, we'll put a gem on the end of the sentence for you, so that you get, and they can choose the color gem or whatever to make it more special for them. So they get the idea. It's about reading it fluently and getting those tricky words within a sentence so that they can actually, sometimes it makes more context for them. It's better for them to read them when they're in a sentence. Okay, a couple more things, and then I think that I'll have to be thinking up some more things after that. But anyway, I did have a couple of bingo games that I had. Some people may have them. I know there are some at school, actually. So you can't play it really like traditional bingo. At least I've been trying to, I can't think of a way online. So, but what I do is I do the similar type of things as I was showing you before with the Tic Tac Toe and the coverall and the clear all and all those sort of things, where I just point to the sound. Like on this one, this one you could actually do a Tic Tac Toe with, because it's, you know, three in a row type thing. And then point to the sound and have them say, you could say, tell me the name or the sound, whichever. As they get better, you can say they have to do both at the same time. What is the letter? E, the sound it makes is eh. And then they get to put, or I would put a thing on there to cover it for them. And they could do a tic-tac-toe that way. So you could, like, you know, try to get something going. I did find my little yellow cards. Just, I knew they were in there. But anyway, and then do it like this. Okay, something like that. Or again, you could do like a coverall and do the gems with it, or do shells or stones or whatever it is. Okay, so and there's like sight word bingo games in there. There's a few different bingo games you could try to adapt for online somehow, since the cards are all made up and all. Another thing I wanted to mention was I forgot to say when teaching the segmenting and hearing the phonemes in the words, the sounds in the words, is to let me just push that out a little bit there. Okay. I always start, before I ask them to tell me the sounds, I start with my saying the sounds in the word, and they have to come up with the word. And again, the way we usually do that is a good way to do it is to pretend like you're a robot. Say, I'm going to pretend like I'm a robot, and I'm going to say the sounds in a word, and I want you to tell me what the word is. So you would like say the word k. I'm going to sound like a robot. K, k, at. And then they say, you know, cat. Op. Like that. And they have to come up with the word mop. And then they start hearing that the words are broken up into sounds. I even would start with actually doing a sentence that way. Or you could do syllables the same way, where you break it down first and then they have to come up with the word. Like you could even do t-a-k-o. What's the word? Taco. Same thing with syllables. Taco. What's the word? Taco. So you start introducing the break apart as a scaffold for them, and then they can eventually begin to break it apart themselves. So that's the robot game. Okay. Any of these things that aren't quite clear, you need clarification, or you know, kind of how I did it or whatever, please just text me, email me, whatever. I think we all, have been sharing each other's phone numbers, so we all each know each other's phone numbers. Okay, then another thing that I just did recently, I found that was fun. I thought I'd share with you just for fun. The kids love this, was to take blends and digraphs and basically make riddles out of them. So, like, for example, this one is, I did this the other day with them, and I did it all the way up through 5th grade, and 5th grade even had fun with it. I think they had some of the most fun with it. But anyway, so you say, like, I start with sh, S-H. I start with sh. I have lots of wool. I am a farm animal. I am a, and then blank. What am I? Sheep. Okay? Then you can also do it with an ending digraph or blend. This one has I end with ch. I am a meal you eat at noon. I rhyme with crunch. I am lunch. I end with sh. I live in an ocean. I rhyme with dish. Of course, I am a fish. And you can even do some, the 2 syllables. I did some, like, for example, I start with ch. I am a spotted cat. I rhyme with pita. I am a cheetah. So I just had fun coming up with these. I'll put them on the X Drive so that everybody has them on there, but that is a fun little exercise where you're just saying those, and then they have to come up with them. You can either have them take turns, or they can all brainstorm together and call it out. Typically, like, the taking turns probably works best. So I think that's all I can think of for right now. I'll keep trying to brainstorm and see. I'm trying to think of a way we can use dice. That's my next goal. Somehow where, you can roll the dice, and then that is, somehow brought into the game. So I will be back. Bye.